Hello and welcome back. Today we'll be learning to create our very own first table, not database, but table. As you can see, I have Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio loaded up. Inside of it, I have my database created and ready to go. And let's just go ahead and create a new table because as you can see, we have no tables here just yet. So let's go ahead, create a new query and type in the following: create table and then your table name. In my case, it's going to be movies because this table will be all about my favorite movies. So after that, you open brackets, and in the brackets you go ahead and list every single column you want to create. So the first column for me logically will be movie name. The data type for it, it's very important to put data type after every single column name and then to put restrictions on the data type. So I will say that no movie can be more than 200 characters and put a comma. Now let's move on to the second column. That was easy, right? So let's do it again. This time I will say movie year. You can create any table you want and just follow the example. In our case, I want to put it integer because I just want to create a movie year that will have 4 numbers, basically the year the movie was released, not the date, data type, just the integer. So next on, let's go ahead and create the country of origin. I will just call it country because I want to avoid making any mistakes further, or rather I want to enable myself to be able to connect this table with any other table through the column country, because countries will never change. The country names are the same for any table, and it's just good to have a column that you can link to other tables. So I will say that no country is bigger than 100 letters and move on. So my last column name will be called genre, and genre will be word share. So here's an issue. Theoretically, genre can consist up to of infinity different subgenres, and that will make up infinite amount of characters. However, if we just leave it empty, unlike PostgreSQL, it will not give it infinite amount. It will set the maximum length to 1. So in order to avoid this, let's put it to 1,000. We'll sacrifice a bit of efficiency just to have the safety that no matter how many genres the movie has, it will never fail to satisfy our rules. So now we can already run this query and create a perfectly normal table. The only thing I want to change is I want to put a bit more advanced stuff to it. So I want to say primary key. I want to specify what's the primary key for this column. Primary key is used to uniquely identify this table by a certain amount of columns, which will become primary key. And in our case, we need to specify it to be movie name, but not just movie name. We need it to be movie name and movie year. And this is due to the fact that if you think about it, a lot of movies share the same movie name, either because it's a reboot, a sequel that doesn't have any number in it, or just a remake. But the same movie, or rather a movie name that has a unique year that when it was produced, is unique. It will never be the same for any two movies, the movie name and movie year. So this guarantees that no matter what's the name of the movie or the year it was produced, together it will be able to uniquely identify this table all the time, or elements of this table all the time. So this is the syntax behind it. We just write in primary key, open brackets, inside of it we write one or any combination of columns that will make up the primary key, and we can create this table and it will already be very good. The only thing I want to put is another constraint on genre. I always want to fill genre no matter what, so in case I ever want to see any comedies or dramas or tragedies, I will always be able to find every single movie on the list. So all I have to put in here is not null. That every time I try to put a new movie in with no genre specified, it will give me a mistake saying that please specify your genre. So now if we go execute this, you can see that command completed successfully. And if we refresh the table menu, we will see our new table here. So let's go ahead, check out the columns. Inside here, we see already something different. The primary key was assigned and automatically changed the icon and the properties of these two columns. So we have movie name, primary key, voucher 200, not null. Movie year, primary key, integer, not null. Country, voucher 100, null. And genre, voucher 1,000, not null. So the only column that can be avoided, can be void, is null. Everything else has to have some value in it, some information in it. Then in the keys we see the unique primary key for this table. And now we're complete. We already created our table. Congratulations. It was very easy and very logical. There's really nothing to be afraid of, and with time you'll just get more and more used to it. The only thing I want to go through is the fact that we have a very interesting way of creating tables in Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. Just by clicking on the table menu and selecting this, right-clicking on the table and selecting table, we can go on and write anything we want. So again, with the columns, I would have written here movie name, then went to data type, type in, started typing in word char, go to 50, change it to 100, specify either it's a null or not null, and then the interesting part is I could have went to the column properties and selected more advanced properties here. But this is not needed for this simple table, and you might want to use it on your own time, you might not, it depends solely on you. So let's go ahead, close this window, don't save it, and just be happy with what we already created. I hope you enjoyed this lecture, and I'll see you in the next one. Hello and welcome back. Today we'll be learning about inserting data into our tables. So let's go ahead, open up our own database, our own table, and create a new query that says select all from, in my case, movies. For you, it's whatever you've decided to name your table. So if we run it, we will see that it returns to us 0 rows, absolutely no information, and this is totally fine. This is due to the fact that we haven't actually inserted or put any data inside our table. It's just an empty skeleton, so to say. Today we'll be learning how to do that, how to put in some information into any table. Let's go ahead, quickly make sure that we have the columns all set up and ready to go, and the keys, everything is right. So now all I need to do is type in insert into. So insert into has two possible variants. One you already encountered, where we say insert into table name from table name. This is very useful when you have raw table or you have previous table that you don't want to work with anymore and you just need to create a new table and you want to save all the data. But today let's try to try to insert data manually through the query by writing it with our own hands. So what I want to do is insert into, and of course another way is using the import data window that we've learned when you have this pop-up menu in which you select flat file source, Excel file, and so forth. Today we'll be working with it manually. So insert into, then your table name, in my case movies, and then you want to say values. After you say values, open up brackets, and in this brackets separated by a comma is the values that you want to insert into every column. So every column is separated by a comma. In my case, let's go ahead and start filling in my favorite movies. The first movie that comes to my mind is 7. So I'll write capital S, lower E, 7 EN. Then I put a comma. The year that it came out is 1995. The country it came out from is USA, and the genres are mystic. Sorry about that. Mystic and crime. So let's go ahead, execute this. As you can see, one row is affected. If we run the new query, which will again select all from movies, we should see one row of data, and that's exactly what we see. So done, perfect. We already inserted one row of data so far. Let's go ahead and try some more. Now, instead of writing this query 1,000 billion times, what you can do is you can just put comma after the values and type in your second columns. So information for your second row of data. In my case, it's going to be a movie called Interstellar that I need to put in apostrophes because it's text. Then I need to put comma. The year that it came out in is 2014. Country where it originated is USA. And genres of it is science fiction. It only has one genre as far as I'm concerned. So science fiction. Now, if we run this, an interesting fact will happen. It will not run because, as you can see, it gives us a violation of primary key. Basically, it tells us because you already have a movie in that table called 7 in the year of 1995, you cannot run the same movie twice. You cannot record it twice in there because then the primary key will not be able to do its job. So basically, it saved us from duplicating the data we already had. So let's go ahead and delete this. and just put a comma and write in a new fresh piece of data for this table. So again, open up your brackets, and for me the next movie will be called the Green Mile. So the Green Mile. The year this movie came out is 1999. The country of origin is again USA, and then the genre will be mystic and drama. So now if we run this, what we'll get is actually 2 rows of data. So now we have 3 rows of data in general. All they look very nice. They look very neatly organized. So let's go ahead, fill in 1 more row of data. I can just delete all of this, put it in here. The last movie will be The Godfather. Year of its release is 1972. The country of origin is again USA, and the genre is crime. Now let's say we forget to input this column completely. We just forget that it exists and try to run this query. What will happen is it gives us this mistake that says that we did not put enough columns to satisfy the need of the table. So basically we've put less columns than there actually are in the table. Then let's say we're going to put in just nothing. We're just going to put not even a space, just we're going to specify that it's of a data type varchar, so it fits with our table needs, but we're just going to put nothing in it. So now if we execute it, it will let us execute it, but if we select all, we can see that it left it empty. It didn't put a null value in, it just let it empty. So how do we fix this? Well, there's a couple ways. First, we can go through the right click menu of the table itself, or we can write another piece of query code in which we'll say, let's just space this out a bit and say update movies and set country to be equal to USA, where, and here we can just go ahead and say movie name equals The Godfather. So now if we would run this piece of code, nothing would change, because as you can see I made a typo here. So I just have to change this and now it will run perfectly fine. So as you can see, any typos you make, any mistakes you make in the input of data will cost you a lot later on. It will basically make your life miserable going through all the data you have. And imagine the first database we worked with, the first table, 16,000 rows of data. Imagine you made 1 or 2 typos in there and you have to scroll through all of the data they're trying to find a typo, and then trying to understand what you forgot to input there. So make sure every time you input data into a database that it's correct, its integrity is preserved, and nothing is wrong with it, because that way is the most efficient way to work with databases. So as soon as the data is already inside a database, then it's all about your skills, your logic, the way you operate, and your efficiency. But inputting the data into SQL, that can be really hard and painful. So another way you could have done this is you could have right click on the movies. You could have went to script table as and went to insert to new query editor window. And here we can see the general syntax that we followed. So you could have just used this. I just prefer the manual way because it teaches you a lot, and it most importantly teaches you to appreciate your time. I hope you enjoyed this lecture, and I'll see you in the next one.